job.
Thank you.
Yeah, and so I just wanted to get started by asking how you got involved, because I don't know too much about your background at all. So I just want to, when did you get active?
Okay, here's the Cliff Notes version. I was always congenital conservative because my parents, who came here legally from the Philippines in 1970, were devout Catholics.
Okay.
So sort of social conservatism was always ingrained in me, but I was not as much of a big mouth back then as I am now. I was sort of your traditional, shy, obedient Asian American girl. But when I went off to college, I went to Oberlin College, which is, I know this is redundant, but one of those super crazy, ultra-liberal colleges where...
Are there any other kind?
I know. Well, there are, actually. There's Hillsdale, St. John's, and Claremont.
Liberty's pretty good.
And Liberty. So that's where I really confronted face-to-face liberal racism, extreme multiculturalism, identity politics, and I just couldn't stand other people talking for me. So my husband, who was a year ahead of me, started basically our version of the Dartmouth Review, and we had people tearing up copies, trashing them, protesting our events. We brought Dinesh D'Souza to campus in 1991, and there were hordes of students and faculty members who stood up and tried to interrupt his speech. And when I saw that, I was galvanized. That's the moment that really clinched it for me. I went on to intern at NBC News in Washington in 1992, and I got to see the sausage being made. Andrea Mitchell was there at the time, and she would come in. I worked at the videotape library where we would log videotape and transcribe it, and I was a really fast typer, so I did really well there. And they would come in and march in and give orders like, get me some videotape of Dan Quayle looking stupid or Pat Buchanan looking evil. And I'm thinking, really? This is an objective, unbiased source of news? And they just automatically assumed that you agreed with them. Anyway, that's how I got on my journey. And for me, what was important was being in the trenches, in a newsroom, and really seeing the groupthink that takes place and then disguises itself as objective news.
Sure. And you talked about social conservatism before. I hear a lot. Even I was one of those people a little while ago who said we need to focus on the fiscal issues and just kind of drop the social issues. I've kind of changed that opinion over the last few months as I've left this organization and kind of, I would say, brainwashed me into thinking that. But what do you think in terms of 2014, 2016? Do you think we need to focus on just the fiscal issues, or do you think we need to also try to get back into social conservatism and win that vote with the youth? Because it's a falling vote for us.
Yeah. We don't have a single body to waste.
Right.
We can't be ostracizing a single person who can be on our side. And, Ronald Reagan believed in the big tent. And I think that you can have a big tent without watering down your core messages. And there are so many cases where both social conservatives and limited government libertarians agree. We should all agree, for example, that not a single taxpayer should be forced to fund Planned Parenthood. And so when you can forge those alliances, you have to do it. You can't dismiss the entire social conservative wing of the Republican Party. What's going to be left? You can't have one wing of any bird or any aerial vehicle. I've been on all sides of the aisle. I voted for Harry Brown in 1996. That was the Libertarian candidate. Not a lot of people know that. It is no longer classified information. But where social conservatives can agree that limited government is best, we need them.
Right. We sure do. And, I mean, the students that I've talked to across this country and in my area seem to always agree that we need to stop spending, we need to cut the debt, and they seem to agree with fiscal conservatism. But the problem is that, I'm a 100% social conservative. I'm a little bit light on the gay marriage. I have a lot of friends that are gay, but like with pro-life, and a lot of people talk about how the pro-life movement is dropping in the conservative movement, but so many fellow girls that are my age have been defending the pro-life movement in my area who are liberals. And so I've learned this over the last few months, and that's why I don't think that we should be dropping the social conservatism, because we have those people on our side right now, and if we drop those, we're losing more bodies, and like you just said. So I agree with you, and it's important that we include everybody. And with Marco Rubio speaking yesterday, and you're talking about just not losing anybody, he got booed over one issue. And I think that's wrong, because 9 out of the 10 issues he spoke about yesterday, all of us would agree with.
Yeah.
And so that's what I'm frustrated with.
Well, I'd have to say on the amnesty issue that I agree with the boomers in that case.
Right, no, I do too.
Because some issues are more paramount than others.
Sure.
And at this particular time in American history, the idea that we would give in, when you look at the record of failure, every time that we have passed an amnesty, all we get is more waves of illegal immigration, and that endangers our national security. But look, with regard to the pro-life movement, anybody who has been to a March for Life knows that is the future, because that it is predominantly young people who are driving it.
That have gone there.
And I always tell Republican groups, I go to these GOP meetings and these GOP forums, and the average age is what? 60? Where are all the young people? Where are all the young people are marching at the March for Life?
Yes,
they need to tap into that.
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
And going back to Marco Rubio just for a second here, I completely agree with you on that issue. But I just think that, he's fought for conservatism on 9 out of 10 or, whatever issues.
Yeah.
And for us to be booing him and for people to saying that we need to fire him as someone who's fought for conservatism on almost every single issue, I just thought that was wrong. That's what I was saying.
Well, here's the other problem for him, and if he's listening, I hope he takes this to heart. It's not merely the position that he took, it's the duplicity with which he treated his constituents. He told them one thing, he promised them one thing, and then when he went to Washington, he did another. That's what they thought they were getting rid of. And that's the message, I think, for any potential Tea Party candidate. You got to do what you say you were sent to do there. And they feel betrayed. That's, I think, a large part of why he's being booed, and it's not getting through to his head. I do have to say that I'm very glad that he has come around on the Common Core issue, and to the credit of that audience, he did get applause. And in fact, a standing ovation when he talked about those core issues, and it signals that in some cases, at least, he's still listening to the grassroots over the establishment. So there, I said something nice about Marco.